It was the second week of player protests in the USL Championship. More expansion clubs made their professional debuts. And does MLS really need to update Messi's availability each and every week? That and more on Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. Morning Kickaround, of course. My name's Robert Kerr, your host here. And then to my side, we got Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling this morning, sir?
I'm good. I see all the ultras are posting on a Monday. It's hard to get up on a Monday. Shout out to Patrick, who is here. Shout out to CD Gobjex, as Rob would like to say. CD Gobjex is here.
Love that guy. Love that guy.
Is here. Mr. Bob is here. Has already gifted a membership and given us a $10 super chat. So Mr. Bob remains the man. Go buy a Mr. Bob mug on the store from Morning Kickaround. Let's see. I got Callan Reese is in here. John Stark is back from vacation. I've got Armando here. Armando is here. All right. Homeless Shoe is here. Everybody's here. Get your chats in. Let us know that you're here, that you're repping. Bob has already stepped up. We've set a goal. 10 members today. We do have a members only stream. If you want that live stream, a soccer under construction update just for the members, got to become an ultra, got to get in, got to support the show.
And Jason, you looked under the hood of the YouTube settings and the bonus show will work flawlessly today. No doubt. We got great stuff. Some soccer under construction. There's some projects starting and some's being delayed across our fair nation. And you said it, we have a goal of 10 new members, and that would get us to a nice round number because we currently sit at 240. And then now with Matt Prater, is that the punter? Matt Prater is our 241st member of the channel. So welcome aboard, Matt, and can't wait to have you join us in the Discord. Additional bonuses of being a MK Ultra. You get bonus content like the soccer under construction later on screen commenting during these live videos, and access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server. But amongst the things we're excited about is the release of our first ever kit, Morning Kickaround Ultra Kit 2026. Went live for pre-sale last week, and the sales are rolling in. And here it is, the Morning Kickaround, the MK Ultra Kit 2026. Feast your eyes on that. We've seen some sales, and we got a couple more weeks of pre-sale, so get on in on that. We love it with partnership with Bastion. Mark Jenkinson over at Bastion, helping us design this kit. And the reviews have been favorable, and want as many folks to get their hands on this because it's a beaut.
Yeah, this is our inaugural kit. This is our very first ever Morning Kickaround kit. You can see a couple of features here I would like to highlight. Number one, a special badge just for the Morning Kickaround Ultras. You can see it says MKU with a different version of Franz Peckenpower or David Peckham or whatever his name is today, our rooster. That badge, I have it on good authority. That badge will be embroidered on their shirt, Rob, which I think is a step up from some of these jerseys that you can go get printed. You know, there's a lot of very cool things happening, a lot of very good, cool kit makers out there, but Mark has stepped up, Bastion has stepped up. They're going to do an embroidered badge for us. You can see the Bastion logo there. You can see our Morning Kickaround. Very cool. I like the, obviously shirt sponsorship. We don't need, unless you want to sponsor our shirt next year. Right now, we don't have a shirt sponsor, so we've got Morning Kickaround, dot the map. We've got 26 on the back with the rooster right there in the numbers. You see that on a Premier League kit. You see that on an MLS kit. Dot the map across the back. So everybody will ask you, what the heck is dot the map? And then you can tell them, oh, it's this great thing that Morning Kickaround does where they put all of their ultras on the map, and they talk about dotting the map with American soccer clubs. I'm so thrilled that this thing is coming out. Please get your pre-order in so that we know there's a demand for us to go and do this and maybe make more down the road.
Yeah, and Jason and I are both a little bit bashful when it comes to self-promotion, but I don't know if I've ever been as excited to share this with people. In every single group chat, every single family chat, friends, and all of the above, I've been sharing this left, right, and center, and I couldn't be more thrilled with the support we've had early and can't wait to keep that going here the next couple weeks.
So a couple things here. One, this is not Matt Prater, the punter. because apparently Matt Prater was not a punter. He was a place kicker. So, Rob, you've got your American football wrong. And it's neither of those things. I also see that homeless shoe. How do I ensure that you get the embroidered badge? All the badges will be embroidered. Everybody's badge will be embroidered. It's not a level thing. You don't have to pay extra. It's it's just the way the shirt is designed. So we're thrilled about this. Again, thank you very much to was it Kit Season on Instagram that featured our kid on their story, which was very cool as well.
Yeah, get it. It's up for pre-sale for the next couple weeks. The Morning Kickaround, the MK Ultra 2026 kit, live for sale now. And you can find the link to that. We'll put that here in the chat here in a second. But you can find that on the Morning Kickaround store, which is here on YouTube, or you can go to fourthwall.com/Morning Kickaround to find that and our other gear in our first offerings of merchandise as well. Before we get to our segments today, we got one more thing to hype: our trip to Rhode Island, May 9th, presented by Rhode Island's Blackstone Valley. We are headed out on May 9th. We will be there. We're going to take in some of the soccer history in the Valley there in Pawtucket. And then we're going to be live game day style for Rhode Island versus the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And I heard a fun fact that the game last year when Rhode Island played Tampa Bay Rowdies, they scored the most goals that they'd ever seen in a season last year. So a little bit of history in that rival that will be there for Rhode Island May 9th. And last week we saw a little bit of a video from Tom in Soccer Zombie. Went down and met some MK Ultras down in Florida last week, and we're hoping to do something similar out in New England. May.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Blackstone Valley, Rhode Island FC, lots of great food, lots of great culture, lots of celebration of the history of American soccer. If you don't know, this area, it's, northern Rhode Island, southern Massachusetts. This is where a lot of those teams you might have heard from, heard of from the old ASL days and things like that. Fall River Marksman is in this area. That's in Massachusetts, but it's just across the border. You've got a lot of that history there baked into Rhode Island, into the Northeast and New England, and I'm excited to see this stadium and to get a picture of what it looks like, a top level lower division American soccer stadium.
Yeah, couldn't be more excited about that. And before we get to our segments, Mr. Bob donating another membership, gifting another membership, and alert to those who got gifted memberships during a kickathon that expires this week. So if you want to continue becoming an MK Ultra, which we sure hope you do, be sure to renew your membership there. You ready to get to the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's kick off our long balls here on Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. It was the second week of player protests in the USL Championship. Players in solidarity with each other and the Players Union to have the moment of stillness once again.
Yeah, the moment of stillness, as our friend John Morrissey called it. I guess we're accepting that as the nomenclature for this. A couple of videos here just to illustrate this. Grabbed, let's see, make sure that we're all set here. Grab this one from, I believe this was from... Oh, man, where did I see this? Instagram. This is Instagram. I gave you the name of the account, Rob, if you want to give us that name. Dibble.
Oh, man.
You didn't write it down like I asked you to write it down? You didn't write it down.
Dibble Trickle or something like that.
Dibble Trips or something like that. So, again, this is Rhode Island. Just a quick look. You can see it's already cycled through. This is a quick video. Stillness. Right? People in the stands moving, players standing still. Also have this shot from our friend Soccer Night in Detroit, who posted this over, I believe, on the Discord. And this is the players in Detroit at Keyworth. Obviously, a very vibrant atmosphere always. Look at that crowd at Keyworth. They show up.
It was so cold. It was so cold this weekend.
Very cold. So cold, by the way, the Detroit City FC's had to move their Open Cup game to other indoor environment, which is difficult, I'm sure. But you can see this is from Soccer Night in Detroit. This is the fans all just there. And let me put
And they're saying players first.
Yeah, just to give you a sense, the fans are on board with the campaign from the players to get better treatment. New member, shout out K_B is a member. I think Bob gave us another gifted membership, so I think we're up to 4 or 5. Keep that going, guys. Keep that going.
Yeah, there's a bonus segment at the end of the show if we get to 10.
We were talking about this. Okay, here we go. This is Armando hooking us up with the name. Dribble Trips, big Rhode Island FC supporter, has a YouTube channel where he travels to smaller teams in the U.S. Great stuff. Thank you to Dribble Trips. I wish that had pulled over from Instagram. I want to give proper credit. Go support him. So we talked about this on Friday, Rob. Like, what do the players do? Do they do the same thing they did in week 1? Do they try to push it beyond the opening minute? Is there, I mean, obviously we were all wondering if they would pull the trigger on the strike. Clearly that didn't happen. I still think it's very unlikely we see a strike. We got minimal updates as to progress made last week coming out of the meeting that happened on Wednesday. Further reports, and I think we tapped into a story by Tom Hindle at goal.com that had a couple of more details on maybe where they were and how far apart they were on a couple of things. I don't blame the players for maybe not pushing the envelope, but you do wonder if there's a limit to how effective this is going to continue to be. Because although the supporters in the building are on their side, what is their ultimate leverage here?
Yeah, I mean, their leverage is what they provide. I mean, without the players, there isn't a game, obviously, and that is the product that the league puts forth is the games. And so without the players, there isn't a game. And I think with this second week, we were wanting to see what the escalation was. And it was continued unity was probably one of the biggest things gained, that like in the second week, all the teams continued to do so. They got some support from the MLS Players Union in a statement, I think on Friday ahead of the weekend. But also, I think that, I mean, DCFC fans obviously were engaged in it. We heard a standards chat, standards first chant, something along those lines in Rhode Island. So fans are engaged and they're knowledgeable of what's going on. So they're showing the unity of it. But obviously, it's not enough, or it hasn't yet been enough to cause action from the league. So would it require further escalation to make this happen? I mean, more minutes of the stillness? Do they add the stillness in amongst, like in the middle of a league, like maybe in the 26th minute, they stand still for a minute so that it's harder to navigate?
That. How do you do that? The ball goes out of play somewhere around the 26th minute and you stop playing. Like, and again, you know, the part of the deal here is that it's easy to coordinate. You tell all of your reps in all of your clubs, hey, we're not moving for the first minute of the game. The kickoff is we're just going to delay the kickoff for a minute and just to make our point. If you try to coordinate something else, telephone game happens, or it doesn't happen the way you want it to, it loses its impact. You're confusing people around what you're doing. Man, I don't know.
I mean, okay, so I think the example of this is, you remember when games all across the world were taking a knee at the beginning of the games, and after a while that kind of like lost its value, and then it was just a thing in the pregame routine after a while. And did that, create any sort of long-lasting impact outside of small incremental gains, but basically it became like kind of symbolic, then it became routine, and then it just kind of quietly went away? Is that what this is going to turn into? Just like, oh, okay, they're not playing for a minute, we had another minute of stoppage time at the end, maybe. But like, I feel like there needs to be some sort of an escalation. If there's no kind of breakthrough in a negotiation session this week, there's got to be an escalation of some sort.
Now, Chris is saying take it to 5 minutes, then 10, then a sit-in. I mean, that, again, those are extremely dramatic statements or steps for the players to take. Now, we mentioned the stand up for standards or stand for standards. Hypation in our Discord posted a video in Rhode Island of that chant. So let's see if we can hear. I think we're ready to go with this. Let me see if we can hear a little bit of this.
Stand for standards. Stand for standards.
So that's the stand for standards chant that was happening there in Pawtucket as the fans were supporting the players.
Mr. Bob throwing his comments in the mix. Expanding length in the stillness time starts affecting the media revenue, which only benefits The USL stillness time will affect USL. And I think that the fans getting in the mix, essentially, I mean, obviously that sends a good message to the players that the fans are on their side. I mean, imagine if the reaction was, booing that or throwing stuff on the field or telling them to get on with it or something. There'll be, a different sort of reaction. And I think that adds some meaning to it, that the fans are on the players' side of this. So that could possibly add some leverage to the negotiations. I imagine that they're going to meet again. You'd think this week. They've been having meetings every week for for seemingly months and year on end. But we'll see what happens. See if there's any sort of resolution. It doesn't really seem like resolution is about to happen. It might take something dramatic. I mean, we learned last week that the kitty for a strike fund is about $400 a week for the players. So not a whole bunch. That's almost just like basically like an unemployment check, so to speak, like just kind of a fraction of what take-home pay would be ideally. But we will see what happens next in week 3 of the USL Championship season.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're look, the fans want to go see some soccer. They want to support the players.
Yeah, sure.
While they're there. A boycott by the fans is certainly a message sent, right? Even if you buy your ticket, even if you take your ticket, even if you show up to the game, if you walk out as a unit, as a fan base, as a supporters group at some point, and now you're not buying the drinks, now you're not buying the gear, now you're not buying the concessions, now you're not putting money in the pocket of the team, who we learned last week is struggling just to make ends meet because everybody loses money in this game. And again, that's a point of leverage on the part of the USL. Then that would certainly send a message. Right? The USL doesn't have enough money coming in from broadcast partners that this kind of action on the players' part is forcing the broadcasters to say to the USL, hey, what the hell's going on? You're hurting our product. Like we're paying you for your rights and you've got this stuff going on. Fix this. Like that's the pressure really that might make this thing crack open.
All right, we'll monitor the situation as it moves forward, but let's take a breath and move on to our next topic here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Over the weekend, we saw more expansion sides make their professional debut, both in USL and in the NWSL. We'll start, though, with one of the teams we've highlighted quite a few times on the show. The latest iteration of the Cosmos opened at home. They lost 3-1, but it sounded like a lot of folks we're more than happy to be back. Look at the supporters in full voice there. I saw some comments that this was the best venue that the Cosmos have been at in their lifetime. They had some difficulties on the media side, but the Cosmos are back in action.
Yeah, look, this is going to be, they're playing in Paterson, New Jersey, as I mute that so he can hear us. This, by the way, a goal, I think was the only goal of the game for the Cosmos. So let me make sure I shout out the correct people here. Found this over on the Cosmos Reddit from Max Research. So shout out to Max. I don't know. Anyway, great video. Supporters there. Smoke, green smoke, umbrellas, a goal. Fantastic moments for the New York Cosmos. When the Cosmos announced this plan to relaunch in League One, playing in Paterson, New Jersey, at this historic, it's got a black baseball history. The Negro Leagues have been in that building. Obviously, there's other events, other history in that building in Hinchcliffe. We saw the sort of dramatic photos because I think there's like a waterfall or something very nearby the stadium. Like it looks very pretty. Turning it into a proper soccer venue is, that takes some work, right? And so I don't want to be overly critical here. We should not be judging the Cosmos of 2026 playing in this building in League One against the Cosmos of 1976 with Pele and 70,000 in Giant Stadium. Like that's not what we should be judging this by. This is a start. Now, do I have some cognitive dissonance stuff happening with the name Cosmos being attached to something that looks like that? Absolutely, I do. Now, that was probably true during the Cosmos 2.0 era, too, because they were playing in some places that weren't the best for soccer. They played in that that minor league baseball stadium where Brooklyn FC is playing now, Rob. So I'm trying to get over myself with the whole Cosmos history and what it looks like now, and trying to be positive about this, because clearly there were a lot of people, and I think they reported 4,000 for their opener. A lot of people who had a good time.
Yeah, definitely. People had a good time. Like I said, people in the Discord that were there saying that was their favorite venue. They preferred that over where they were in the 2.0 era. And yeah, you kind of have to look at this Cosmos team through two lenses. Like, this is a startup, grassroots-ish sort of operation, definitely lower league operation, and take it for a grain of salt that NASL back in the 70s, the original Cosmos team, had some pretty humble beginnings too. Pele wasn't there on day one either, and they weren't in Giant Stadium either, I don't believe, day one either. So it could be a process of building up to that. And when we've had the guests on from the Cosmos, they never promised the glitz and the glamour on day one either.
No, and I think that's fine, because what they need to be very cognizant of is connecting to the local community. Now, I know there was a little bit of saltiness over the idea of calling themselves the New York Cosmos when they're playing in Paterson, New Jersey. I mean, either just drop the New York thing or call yourself the New Jersey Cosmos, because what are you doing here? The geography is wrong. I am sympathetic to that attitude. But again, they're just kind of tying this into the history and how this team has been a presence in the New York metropolitan area, whether playing actual games or just as an icon, just as a brand, right? And I'm always fascinated to see how many English football fans in particular recognize and respect and remember fondly the Cosmos name, because the Cosmos really were the first team in world football history to go out and secure the signings of a bunch of star players back when there was no Bosman rule, back when the only way for a player who was out of contract in Europe to sign with a new club, if he wanted to, was to leave Europe, which is why what Warner Communications and the Cosmos did in the original era was so groundbreaking. This is not who this team is. And again, you have to readjust your understanding of what the Cosmos of 2026 will be compared to that. But there is an opportunity to build something here. Again, I think there's some hardcore fans. They need to make a bunch of new fans, right? We haven't yet got a chance to connect with Giuseppe Rossi, but he's from the area. He's putting the work in to build the academy part of the Cosmos name, which I think is obviously very important.
Yeah. Also, a low-key shout out to Portland Hearts of Pine, one of the darlings of last year's USL League One season, sending a lot of traveling fans out to that game to make a very cool atmosphere there. Across American soccer, there were a number of other firsts. Corpus Christi debuted on the road in a 2-2 draw in Naples. And there's definitely more than one comment about Corpus Christi's coach wearing a sweater. I mean, that's a deep cut in USL lore, isn't it?
Yeah. Our guy, Ayman Zayed, who we had on the show to talk about the new project in Corpus Christi, a guy who had coached in USL League One with Northern Colorado Hailstorm. One of the weirdest names in American soccer. So,
and you can still see that interview with him if you remember. That's a members only interview as well.
Yes, that's right. We do have that up on the members only page. If you're interested in what Eamon is bringing to the table, an Irishman in America coaching and having found a place in Texas. I don't know what to say about this. I mean, Corpus Christi is one of those places where it's like, oh, can this work? I don't want to be skeptical of the passion on the part of the organization, the people behind the scenes. We did interview some people whose job is to sell soccer and professional soccer in Corpus Christi, Texas. But and maybe it's a proof of concept kind of market, right? It's a proof of concept kind of place. If we are really going to dot the map, if we're really going to have hundreds of professional soccer clubs across our country that are standing the test of time, it needs to work in places like Corpus Christi, Texas. And again, we've talked about attrition. We talked about Tormenta shutting down. We talked about teams losing money. We talked about the USL approach and the business model. And is that creating a scenario where clubs are more likely to fold because they don't get support from the organization? There's no trickle down money, those kind of things. I mean, that stuff is all out there. And Corpus Christi is a club that I want to see succeed, because if they can succeed, then maybe anybody can.
More debuts in American pro soccer in the NWSL. 2 expansion sides began life. Start with the home debut of Boston Legacy. They had a big crowd on hand, but And they also had New Kids on the Block, which was an interesting add-on to the match.
But I didn't know that. The original lineup of New Kids on the Block?
At least
Donnie there?
I saw some replies of hanging turf because they had the grass there. And New Kids on the Block, for those who remember, that was one of their hits. Unfortunately, took an L. And then, of course, like everything else, when soccer teams playing NFL venues, often that upper bowl's empty, which kind of takes away from the atmosphere, but big numbers there regardless. And obviously, we've talked about it on the show. They are working their way towards building a soccer specific stadium, but a good start to life attendance wise, maybe not necessarily results wise. And then in another debut on the road, though.
Hold on. I want to talk about. You didn't give me a chance to say anything else about Boston Legacy, Rob, but just because John was at the game, and then also at the Revs 6-1 win over Cincinnati, which was a surprise.
A lot of blowouts this weekend in MLS.
Yeah. The thing that to note, and I'm sure John knows this, and I saw this, and I don't love this thing where everything is a competition, right? In American soccer, everything is a competition. We have to compare everything to everything else. And, women's soccer is up against men's soccer, because what I saw was somebody trumpeting the fact that Boston Legacy outdrew the Revs by, I think, a 2-1 margin. Woo. I think the Revs ended up with 15,000 or something like that. John maybe can give me the actual numbers because I didn't pull them here, but I think it was something like that. And look, that's the debut of the brand new NWSL club, and there's clearly an appetite. Everybody watches women's sports, right? Come on, let's recognize that this is a league on the rise. Women's sports is on the rise. People are excited to go see it. The debut is always going to be a little bit more popular than a regular season game, even the third or fourth one. Actually, the third one for the Revs because they had that delayed hope opener, right? It was always going to be a bigger deal for the Legacy than for the Revs. So let's not do the comparison thing and say, oh, look, women's soccer is so much better than. They did a great job driving a crowd out for the Legacy game. That will not be their permanent home, right? They're renovating White Stadium in Boston itself, which the capacity of that building is not 65,000 or whatever Gillette is. So there'll be different levels of support, but it's a great start for the Legacy.
And obviously Americans and American sports fans love a spectacle, and a home opener debut. They can say that they were there, and that drives a lot of attendance. And obviously we skipped over, but Oakland Roots, another big home opening attendance number for them. But staying in the NWSL, Bay FC defeated Denver Summit in Denver Summit's pro debut.
Yeah. Another, but we're yet to see what that looks like in Denver for Denver Summit, right? As they get underway here. They brought Lindsay Heaps back from Europe, so we're going to see how she gets along in the league again. There's good stuff there. Like we'll see. I mean, again, just kind of note the launch of the club, and then we'll note their home opener, and then we'll move on from there.
All right, we have our guest waiting in the wings, so we will get to Jason Collinsworth in just a minute, but we want to hype up our goal of 10 members. We have a great bonus segment coming up at the end of the show. One of the pillars of content of the show is talking about soccer under construction, and there's some good news and bad news in the soccer stadium construction projects. We'll get to that at 10:30, so be sure to become a member to get on that segment. And also our pre-sale for the first ever MKU, that Morning Kickaround Kit 2026, is open now for a couple weeks. There it is on screen. I've never had a kit for any project that I've ever done before, and I couldn't be happier to share this now. I secured one for myself, so I'll get one on day one as well. But the MKU, the Morning Kickaround Ultra Kit 2026, available now. Visit fourthwall.com/Morning Kickaround, or it's on YouTube if you go into the shop.
There's a post with a link, I believe, also on the YouTube page. So go jump on the jersey. Be part of that. I want to mention we had a 10-member goal today. Like we're pushing towards 250. Like we're going to celebrate 250 years as a country. We're going to celebrate 250 members on this channel. Hopefully we'll get there first. I think we've got 5 today. Through gifts and new members, we're up to 5. So we got a little time left. By the way, the clock is on for the members only stream that will kick off just shortly after 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to listen to that live and have access to it, you got to be an ultra, you got to be a member. So join up.
All right, stay with us. Our guest up next for a latest installment of Culture Wars here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome on in. Culture Wars here on Morning Kickaround, and our guest today is Jason Collinsworth. He hosts the show I Hate Soccer, taking I'd say a skeptical look at the inner workings of the youth soccer landscape here in the United States. Welcome onto the show, and thank you for joining us here on Morning Kickaround, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate you coming on the show, Jason. I mean, obviously we're digging deep into what American soccer is all about. If we're talking about, going to the beginnings of it for players, so give us a thumbnail sketch on what you want to bring to the fore. What conversations you want to start around that part of the game.
So I started this podcast because I am a trainer or a supplemental trainer in Buffalo, New York, and I had a lot of my college players start playing in college, or some of my young players start, growing and getting older and getting into college. And I didn't even know the recruiting process, right? When parents would ask me about advice, I just wouldn't know it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a podcast with some of my higher level players and have them on to share their experience. And then it exploded. And I didn't expect it to become what it's become. I never planned on having coaches on. I never planned on having adults on. It was just going to be college soccer players. And then it just morphed into real conversations of just everything that's going on. And I will talk to anybody at any level. I'll talk to the U8 coach, but I'll talk to the pro coach as well. Anything to just share and have a real conversation that other people might not have in this space.
Yeah, the youth soccer is a huge part of the way American soccer is approached in this country, obviously, and it kind of informs everything else that comes beyond it. It's kind of wild. We're probably one of the only countries where youth soccer clubs are bigger than the professional clubs in our country. And one of the reasons you pop up on my feed an awful lot because you've interviewed coaches from Michigan, and you've had a lot of conversations of trying to inform parents of like, what the heck should we do? My kid wants to play soccer, but I'm not a millionaire. What should I do? But before we kind of get into all those kind of levels and kind of how your guidance have informed people, kind of explain the name I Hate Soccer. Where did that come from?
So again, in the supplemental training space, I'm not in charge of anybody's playing time. I'm not in charge of the position that they play. I only train them to just help them enjoy the game and get a little bit better so that when they go to their club team, they can be a bigger contributor. And in that 10 years, I've had so many conversations with parents and players about things that were going on at their club. And then it would just be like a little under my breath, be like, I hate soccer. And it's just little political things within a club. It's maybe treatment of players. Maybe it's something that happens, or going to Tennessee when you play for the Western New York Flash. Why are we having a regular season conference game 11 hours away when you can have a team maybe in your backyard and play each other? And it's just little things like that. Of course, I love soccer. I've dedicated my life to it. I've coached it my entire life. I've coached at every level, but it's just little things, and it's kind of catchy. But I get it all the time. Like, why do you? I was at MLS Next Fest in Arizona, and kids would be walking by, like, "Why do you hate soccer? Why are you here if you hate soccer?" It's like, I don't hate soccer. It's like, do you like soccer? Yeah. Do you like losing? No. Okay. Well, you hate losing, so you hate soccer because it could be a cruel game, right? How many
Yeah, of
times have
course.
you dominated a game and then you lose 1-0 when you've outshot them 20-1?
Yeah.
Boom. I
Yeah.
hate soccer. Just little things like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the subversive approach, right? And it's provocative, right? It gets people talking about, okay. And then, as you said, like that's the thing about this sport in this country in particular. Although I guess, in the way you just mentioned it, everybody hates the game on some level at some point. But having been mostly focused on covering and writing about professional soccer, the thing is that you can't really get away from talking about development and youth systems and college soccer. It's all mixed up in the same pot. And I don't live in that world, right? You're doing supplemental training, you're seeing these kids, what is their path? Are they're trying to make choices, they're potentially spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year. I'm not knee deep in it, but it's the thing that I think sparks the most anger and a frustration in
Yes.
American soccer fans, Jason. And I guess the thing that I always come to is thinking pragmatically about this is how do we fix the incentives, right? Because that's what this is all about, right? The incentives here are there for a team in Western New York to go play a team in Tennessee because there's money on the table for the club, right? So how do we fix all of that?
How do we fix it? I think if I had that answer,
Right. Okay, this conversation because I think everybody's like, "Oh, well, we got to get rid of pay to play." And I'm like, "Okay, how? Tell me how
how?
to do that."
It's not happening. It's not happening unless we completely open up the system, have promotion and relegation at the higher levels, and maybe some money will trickle down. But that's not even going to do it. USL clubs, as it is, are barely getting by. And you think that they're going to spend a lot of their money on a youth academy? Like it's just, and if you're in the northern states, it's $800 an hour to rent a soccer field. So it's the pay to play model is never going away, ever. I even if we had promotion and relegation and an open system and everybody got to play each other even at the youth level, I just don't see it. And it's a lie that a lot of people on X and social media just say, and I just don't know how to do it.
Well, I'm okay with saying we should get rid of it. Again, I think that's
Or
ridiculous
help.
to imagine. But yeah, but like if you want to say we shouldn't have pay to play, okay, fine. But again, like let's try to figure out around the edges how to create different incentives for everybody involved, or for at least some of the people involved. Now, and again, you can tell me like I don't know, you're in Western New York, so you're not really in a significant MLS catchment area, right? But for
Nope.
the kids that are, maybe the world's changed a little bit, but maybe not enough. And again, we talk about dot the map and professional soccer teams, and I want that to happen because I want fans to be able to go support a team that represents their town. But there's also a future, you have to dream about it, where every one of those teams has some sort of academy system or is incentivized to develop their players in their local community. And again, the way it happens around most of the world is okay, we developed this kid. He played, 12 senior games for us. Somebody came in and
Let's
offered us
sell
$1
them.
million, and we sold him for $10 million. And then we can put that money back into our system. And a lot of those kids don't have to pay anymore to get proper training.
Yep. Yep. And it's solidarity payments and training compensation. And I mean, now we're just now getting to the point where those payments aren't blocked by
Yes.
somebody.
Yeah.
And
So would you say that's I was going to say, well, if not ending the pay to play model, like what is something that is feasible that could improve the pathway? Because trying to explain how do you go from a youth player to becoming a professional player as a domestic American player is a pretty befuddling path. There isn't like one way to do it. And would you say, I guess, what is possible to change? What can we tweak about the system that makes that path clearer?
I think it has to be open at the youth level. I think the system, I think that we should have one system for boys soccer in this country, and I think we should have one system on the girls side in this country. And then we could tear it out. Why can't we do something where let's say there's 1,000 youth clubs that are allowed in. There's 10 tiers, 100 teams per, and we do promotion and relegation based on club. They rank the clubs anyway. So why not we do that? Or we could
Yeah.
just base it off the U16 or U17 level with like the GA Cup or something like that, or the ECNL finals. Do something like that and open it up so then we're not traveling 11 hours. But
It should
I
be
mean,
like that. Jason, it should be like that. But you know as well as I do, what happens is
It's not
somebody
going to
goes,
happen.
"Oh, that's not fair to me, and therefore I'm going to make a big stink, or I'm taking you to court, or I'm whatever." That's where we at with all this. The attitude is, my soccer is better than your soccer, and so I have to fight you at every turn.
And I'm unhappy, so I'm just going to start my own league, and then we're in
That's
the
exact.
exact
Yes,
same
yes.
mess.
What? Yes,
And we're in
exactly.
the same
Guilty.
exact mess. But think about it. Okay, just in the youth landscape, we are in this mess of the ECNL versus the MLS next, all because in 2007, US Soccer said, we don't need the development academy on the girls' side. We only need to focus on the boys' side. Our girls are the best in the world.
Yeah.
That spawned 2009 ECNL coming in and saying we can do it better than what the development academy is, and now we're in this mess, and now we're in this war, and it's an arms race on both sides. If you've seen all the teams adding in the MLS next and adding all the teams in the ECNL, ECNL just added 9 Michigan teams in their regional league, and they're just going to play each other. Now, I want to see that, but it's just it's nuts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think that with the USL, I mean, I'm a big NFL guy. I'm a big, you know, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan at heart. Lamar Hunt, right? I'm sorry.
I'm a Broncos fan, Jason. Full disclosure.
Yeah, you guys had a good year. So, um, so AFL. Well, really, Lamar Hunt wasn't allowed to have a team in the NFL, so he
Mhm.
started his own league,
Mhm.
right? And then he started doing his a very good job, and then the NFL came calling for a merger.
Yeah.
I hope that's where we're headed with USL and MLS someday down the line. Once the promotion and relegation happens, we'll see if that ever happens. But
Yeah.
I could dream.
You said that you kind of created your show, I Hate Soccer, for the reason kind of like to self-educate yourself. So, I mean, it
Yeah.
probably helps you in your work as a supplemental trainer, so you can give advice, because I'm guessing your players do ask for, there's a lot of different avenues that could go, or how do I get recruited for colleges and whatnot. What has been the most enlightening discovery that you've made while doing your show?
Uh, my My favorite shows so far have been one with Jordan Allen, who played a brief stint at Real Salt Lake, and he is now coaching at Real Salt Lake in their academy. And just, I feel like our youth players are so far removed from the professional game that they don't even know what it what it takes to be a pro, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
then I just had in a future episode, I have Steve Clark on, who was goalkeeper, played 300 games in the MLS, and I just had him on, and just the professional mindset of these professional players is so far removed from like the kids in college that I talk to, and
Mhm.
it just an assassin mindset almost, especially from Steve. But he was a goalkeeper, so.
Yeah.
Goalkeepers are a little crazy.
They're weird. Yeah. No, the thing, Jason, that you're making me think about is that other thing, that the other truism that people love to parrot in this country, which is, oh, there's 100 Messis out in America. We just don't know where they are or how to find them. Now, I'm not going to suggest that we don't have talented players that, if they were in the right environments, could become very talented players. Maybe not Lionel Messi, he's an alien, but something that's maybe not better than what we have, but we could certainly be much more efficient. And so when you think about American soccer's developmental systems as a net, the problem is there's some really big holes in that net. And again, catch it. If you're only thinking about how do we get better and win a World Cup, because I don't think that's the only motivation we should have for teaching kids soccer, but if that's your motivation, that's what fans will wonder about. Have you talked to anybody? Have you heard from anybody? Have you thought about what is it that helps American soccer get better at giving kids opportunities to actually meet their talent, right? Like, that's the thing. How do we close up those holes?
Well, it's culture, and this segment is culture wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every single time that I see a video on Twitter or whatever, and it's a little kid juggling a ball with all surfaces of their feet, and all surfaces of their body, and they're on just a sidewalk, and he's like 8 years old. It's like, well, that's culture. That's what we don't have. That's what we
Mhm.
lack. And I've always said that, like, when will we catch up? When can we compete for World Cups and whatnot? I think it's when our players are second and third generation soccer players. We're still a very young
Mhm.
nation for the most part, soccer nation for the most part. But there's a reason why our best players are Christian Pulisic. What did his dad do in the game? His
Yeah.
mom was a pretty good player too.
Yep. Yep.
Way up. I mean, you just go down the list, and usually the best players are second and third generations. Where even when we do get to second and third generations, Argentina is going to be on their seventh.
Or we've got kids like Weston who went to Germany because his dad was military, and he gets in the culture in German football, which is different than what we've got here.
Exactly, and they wake up and they think about whatever their team support is. In Buffalo, New York, there's only one team that everybody cares about, and that is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you one more thing, Jason. I wonder if you thought about this. I have this theory too that part of our problem, it's cultural. Like the big overarching issue is culture. But the thing that we do in American soccer, maybe more than anybody else, is we compartmentalize. So it's not just about supporting your local team, although that's a big part of this. It's that players go from, all right, I'm at practice, I play a game, and then that's it. I go home. I'm not doing soccer otherwise, right? You mentioned the 8-year-old kid on the sidewalk. That's the thing that connective tissue between official soccer outings is missing for us. That we make this about, like, there are pickup games happening. I get it. There's more and more every year, and maybe we're getting to a tipping point at some level. I don't know. But that's the thing I
Mhm.
think about a lot, is that we turn it into almost homework. Soccer is homework for these kids.
Yes, it's an obligation. Do they actually love it? And if they don't love it, I mean, it's a losing proposition for the most part anyway. So can we just get them in love with the game, and so that
Yeah.
they want to watch everything? But I want them to watch American soccer. I
Yeah.
want them to watch USL. I want them to watch MLS. I don't like. It's sweet that they're watching EPL. I mean, when we were growing up, we couldn't watch EPL. I don't even know if I saw a Champions League game until high school.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like the Liverpool game in Turkey against AC Milan. That was like one of the first
Yeah.
memorable Champions League game that can ever think of. You know, it's just culture. Can we ingrain these kids and get these kids to breathe soccer when they're not in an adult organized setting?
Yeah. Interesting to think about, and it's so many players and coaches I've heard that players never watch TV or watch games on TV under their own volition. They almost, like Jason said, had to assign, "Hey, watch a game over the weekend. We don't have a game on the weekend. Go watch one."
Okay.
And they don't even do that very often, which is kind of mind blowing, because these guys are trying to do everything they can. They spend every afternoon in training or all that, and they couldn't tell you anything about the professional game in any way. There's just that culture of disconnect, like you mentioned.
I
But
had to do that. I had to do that a lot with when I was younger as a coach. Assign watching the game as homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
which
true.
is wild. Yeah, and how many kids are like after school just like playing with their friends, kicking around in the front yard?
I'm usually in between. Oh, just kicking around. Oh no, I've been none. Well, I can't say none. There are some, but you know what? They're the best players. They're
Yeah.
the ones that are the best because they always have a ball at their foot. You know.
How many kids in Buffalo are walking around with a football under their arm on the way to school or something like that? I mean, that probably happens too. But
A little bit more.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But we got to wrap up with you here. What's the best way to take in I Hate Soccer? What's the best platform?
YouTube, I Hate Soccer podcast, and then my biggest like following is on Instagram. I Hate Soccer podcast, and I upload every Monday. I'm adding shows that should be coming out Thursdays. So uploading twice a week with just interviews. So, uh, and that's about it. Are you guys going to? Are you guys going to be at the Soccer Expo? Do you guys know the We Are Soccer guys?
Yeah, I know those guys. We're all
Craig
Michigan
and
soccer content creators. Yeah.
Yeah,
but I don't
so
think we have any plans to do that. I might individually if it's local again.
it's going to be in Novi. So
Hey, then I might pop up there. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for sharing time with us and sharing your content. It has been a great conversation. And everyone out there, be sure to check out I Hate Soccer. We
Thanks
got
for the invite, guys.
Oh, yeah, no problem at all. Thank you so much for your time. We got one more segment to go, and then be sure to become a member to get access to our bonus segment. We're going to talk about soccer under construction at the bottom of the hour, but let's take a sip of coffee and come right back, and we'll talk some Messi before we're done here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome back in Morning Kickaround here on Monday morning. We have bonus content at the bottom of the hour, so become a member. We're going towards 250 members this morning. So over the weekend, one Leo Messi and some of his famous friends did not travel to Charlotte in MLS action, and some folks questioning and maybe upset that they didn't get to see the GOAT in person. But I want to ask you, Jason, does Inter Miami or MLS have any obligation to notify anyone about the availability of Leo Messi?
Hold on. I want to interrogate your statement here a bit, Rob. Did you see people complaining that Messi wasn't playing? Was that something that was out there in the world? Or are you just kind of building a straw man, assuming people were complaining?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about in the stadium. I didn't see any like boos or anything, but definitely in the comments on various social media platforms, there was people complaining about it. Yeah.
So Charlotte people were complaining about Lionel Messi not playing in Charlotte for Inter Miami against Charlotte FC. Okay, if that happened, I mean, look, I don't know if it was a mass of people. I don't know if it was some overwhelming.
Well, this comes on the back of the whole Vancouver, class action lawsuit. When people sued for them advertising he was going to be there, wasn't there. But I think it's a little bit different here. But we're going to say, do they really need to update people? I mean, I always think going into a sports game, someone might get injured in the warm up and you wouldn't get to see him anyway.
There's no, this is the dumb, I'm sorry, not you. This is a dumb question. No team has any obligation to tell people, oh, our guy's not going to play. No, not at all. This is what sports is. Sport, if you were going to a wrestling match and you're like, I gotta see The Rock. That's gonna be great. And they hyped up The Rock, or everybody was talking about how The Rock was gonna perform or be in a match, and then The Rock doesn't post. That's different than an actual real life sporting event, which I know both industries have injuries, but one is scripted, one is not. Okay. Lionel Messi staying at home for Inter Miami, as did Rodrigo de Paul and I think a couple other people, is about the fact that Inter Miami has a very congested match schedule and has the second leg of their CONCACAF Champions Cup tie against Nashville coming up, and they're prioritizing that. Now, Javier Mascherano made those choices. He also got red carded at the end of this game against Charlotte. There were no goals. It was maybe not the most exciting event that has ever happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. Maybe all those people who showed up to go and see this game were hoping to see Lionel Messi, but that's all it can be. It can only be a hope. It can't be an expectation. And I don't have any sympathy. Chris says MLS and Miami have made him the brand. Sure, he is the greatest player of all time. Of course you would make him the brand, but that doesn't go as far as to say, well, if he doesn't play, you have to apologize or you have to pay people back. I think the thing that happened in Vancouver is ridiculous. I don't think Vancouver and MLS should have to pay anybody for Lionel Messi not playing. I don't care if Vancouver said he was going to be there and sold tickets with Lionel Messi's picture on it. Come see Lionel Messi. If you're a sports fan of any intelligence, you have to know there's a good chance he won't play. That's your fault. That's not their fault.
Yeah, I gotta totally agree with you there, because there's always a possibility. It's a human action, right? And something can happen each and every day. Like, you plan to go to work and you get in a car crash on the way there. Like, things happen to prevent your availability. But to the point of, like, he's been built up. He is like 1A on Major League Soccer branding, and I'm sure there's people excited about it. but there shouldn't be any sort of lawsuit. Like, it was pretty wild that Vancouver and MLS settled that. I mean, they probably just wanted to make it go away more than anything else with that settlement. But tapping into the boots on the ground knowledge of our MK Ultras, George, he said he was there. He said no one around him was complaining. And also, this is an interesting note that there weren't as many Miami kits as previous iterations of this matchup. So are the pink shirt counts going down when he visits around? I guess it probably depends on the city, depending how attractive the hometown team is. Obviously, Charlotte has a lot of support in these early days, but interesting to note that there wasn't as many pink shirts in Charlotte this time around.
I mean, that's anecdotal from George. I believe him. But, I mean, I also think that, we're a couple years into this now. And Lionel Messi has been in a lot of places. And while I still think there's a lot of there's a lot of interest in Messi, and there are a lot of people, especially younger people, I'll see Lionel Messi jerseys and Inter Miami shirts all over the place in my area, Northern Virginia, the DC metropolitan area. You'll see them. I go to Puerto Rico, which is not a soccer hotbed, or is not known as a soccer place, and I'll see a lot of Lionel Messi shirts in Puerto Rico. He has power. He will sell shirts. There will be, Miami fans, quote unquote, Messi fans who show up to away matches. But I definitely think that that's a diminishing returns kind of thing. The people who wanted to see Lionel Messi probably went 2 years ago or last year. They already bought their tickets. They already paid for those. They've already seen him. They're not going back out, right? Or maybe they converted. Like, maybe they were like, hey, I don't know, I'm a Charlotte fan, even though I originally went to see Lionel Messi. I'm a Charlotte fan now. Or the first time, sure, I was there to see Messi, but now I'm going to support the other team, or I'm just not going to wear my jersey this time. Whatever. I think it is absolutely fine for anybody who wants to go see Lionel Messi to buy a ticket to go see Lionel Messi. You just have to understand that there's no guarantee he's going to play, because that's not how sports work.
Yeah, no guarantees in life whatsoever. Just checking in on our goal for members.
Caveat emptor, Chris. Caveat emptor. There you go. Sorry.
Fair enough. But updating our member count.
You know what that means, Rob? You know what that means?
You went over my head with that one, I suppose.
Buyer beware is what that means.
Oh, that's that's totally for sure. And there's no guarantees in life. And maybe the locked-in sports fan, the locked-in soccer fan would know that there was 3 games in 8 days, and maybe certain games would get prioritized over an aging superstar to participate in each and every game, especially during a congested part of their schedule. He's
38 years old. He's 38 years old, right? Never mind. Continue.
Yeah, 38-year-old knees, lots of miles on there. I'm sure they get pretty achy. And speaking of Charlotte and feeling aged and achy, did you see that press conference with Zaha talking about everything he's got to do to get his ankles prepared for a game? And he thinks he's not being protected. He's like, just to walk, I have to do, get shots and stretches and all this stuff just to get out in the field. And the MLS referees aren't protecting him because he says, I got to look at the stats. He says he's the most fouled player in MLS.
He does get fouled a lot, Wilfred Zaha. I understand him. Yeah, before Suarez signed with Miami, there were stories that when he was in Brazil, he was injecting himself, his knees, in order to get on the field. So, these guys are doing what it takes to play because they want to play.
We got 2 minutes until we go to our members only bonus.
We have 7.5 minutes until we go to our members only bonus, because I started the clock a little bit later than 9:30. So you have 7 minutes and 21 seconds as of I'm talking to join the members crew, the Ultras, so you can get access to the special Soccer Under Construction segment, Rob.
So with that in mind, we will feature one of the features of becoming an MK Ultra is getting your comments live on screen. So we're going to put our number 1 MK Ultra, Mr. Bob, on the screen here. Going back to our first topic of the day, the player protests in the USL Championship. Mr. Bob's suggesting escalating the player protest. May 1st, International Workers' Day, commemorates the Chicago Haymarket rally that started peacefully. Maybe fans and join players May 2nd weekend in a peaceful sit-in on the pitch. I don't know if I can, that would be an escalation to get supporters on the pitch. A sit-in is an escalation, but players and fans on the pitch at the same time, fans on the field would be a pretty wild escalation, but a sit-in,
I don't
in
think
conjunction with the workers.
I think fans should probably be very careful. That's the kind of thing that gets you arrested. Now, maybe some people are willing to get arrested. I would suggest maybe don't do that. Don't push security. Stadium security notorious for being a little heavy-handed with some of their approaches to that. I do wonder though, and to Bob's suggestion, if the players should maybe sit down. Maybe the players now it's again stand up for standards or stand for standards. Everybody's standing, and that's the message they're sending. But would it be more evocative? Would it be more visually interesting and get people talking if the players actually sat down, crisscross applesauce right there on the field, Rob?
Yeah, because that is a moment of stillness. That's what the kindergarten teachers tell their kids so that they can't get up and move around and when they get in the wiggles. So that would embrace the moment of stillness, because you were saying there's a stand for stillness, but there's also the moment of stillness, sitting down, not moving. That there's no anyone that's confused in the crowd or on TV that these guys are just standing around. Maybe there's something going on around that they're just standing around waiting for. If they sit down, there's no misunderstanding that.
You could, obviously the players are spread out at a kickoff. If the whistle blows and you're not going to kick the ball off, maybe everybody comes together in the center circle and they arm to arm, or they can, maybe there's a fist in the air from every player. I mean, again, I think they need to be a little bit more, maybe they're choosing not to be overly provocative, right? Maybe they're choosing the standing still is a statement, not playing the game for a minute of actual game time is a statement. But maybe they're choosing that because it is not so drastic and aggressive. But man, if you want to get people talking a little bit more, if you want this to get picked up beyond the typical little soccer bubble in which USL Championship exists, then maybe you do need to do something a little bit more visually interesting than just standing still on the ball.
Jack, I know he's trying so hard to get one of those gift memberships. He's not highlighted in green just yet. Sorry, Jack. But he's made a good suggestion that he's saying that all the negotiations make me tired, that they need to take a seat. And Bill, one of our big time supporters, he likes the idea of all coming together. We saw Chelsea doing the weird team huddle around the ball at center, but maybe both teams in solidarity sit around the center circle all together. That would be pretty evocative. I think that might be because in this sort of period in labor negotiations, a lot of the time photos and symbolism go a long way. So maybe that having them sit or come together at the center provides a more visual element to it.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to do Connor Tobin's job or anybody else's job over at the USLPA. They understand their situation better than I ever could. And I'm not, but again, if you're looking to make a statement, if you're looking to actually get a little bit more than just, because, we've seen the pictures and we know what they mean, and they mean something to us, but they're not overly dramatic. Players standing still, right? In a video setting, it's kind of interesting. Oh, they're not moving. The clock is running, but they're not moving. The fans are there. They're not moving. What's happening? They're just standing still. But obviously when you take a photo, every photo is still. Lots of players stand around at times during a game. I took a picture of a player standing. Oh, that's not abnormal. That's what happens at a soccer match sometimes. Maybe you do need to do something that's a little bit, maybe instead of standing still, they all need to do a gesture. Maybe there's a gesture that needs to be made. Every player with their arm in the air. You don't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be, again, these symbols are important and we put a lot of meaning into them. Maybe you choose one that doesn't inspire sort of an aggressive attitude about labor negotiations. Again, you're still in these talks with the USL, but maybe there needs to be some sort of gesture or some coming together or some arm in arm situation.
What's our timer at for going to our bonus soccer under construction segment? So I'd say with that in mind, let's bring up.
No, Chris. Mass mooning, I do not recommend that on the part of the USLPA.
I was on the fence on bringing that involved. We want to bring a moment of levity to it. You know, I went back and forth in my mind. So I'm glad you went ahead and decided to bring the mass mooning comment on screen. So thank you, Jason, for making that executive decision on bringing Chris's comment or suggestion
well done, Chris.
there.
Well done.
So we got another member added, a new MK Ultra, Paul in Pontiac. Curious if that's Pontiac, Michigan, or if he's just got a smooth ride. He's riding around in a Pontiac Grand Am or something like that.
I am only aware of one place called Pontiac. There could be more, I guess, up in the upper Midwest somewhere. But shout out to Paul for becoming an Ultra. This is your last chance. You have just over 1 minute to become an Ultra before we go to members only. And we do a soccer under construction update. And we've got a couple of places we're going to hit and a couple of different stories that are out there when it comes to soccer under construction, stadium projects moving forward, stadium projects maybe stalled, new teams. Again, this is about dotting the map with teams as much as it is with our Ultras. And by the way, if you're an Ultra, the Discord link will be on the YouTube page and you can become a Discord member. I saw some people saying, how does Discord work? And there's been some sharing of, here's an introduction, a beginner's guide to Discord. It's just a chat app, but it does have some quirks to it. So become a member, get access to the Discord, get access to the bonus segments, get access to all the other things that we're doing for our Ultras here on Morning Kickaround.
Well, we have a moment with everyone on board. Be sure to check out the Morning Kickaround merchandise store. We got t-shirts, hoodies, hoodless sweatshirts, coffee mug, and also our first ever MKU kit, Morning Kickaround Ultra Kit 2026 is open for pre-sale. So we got a couple of weeks, and we'll see you next time. Enjoy your soccer. Before we go